We are following some breaking news at this hour. I did want to share this social media post from the Democrats saying that oversight Dems have received new emails from Jeffrey Epstein's estate that raise serious questions about Donald Trump and his knowledge of Epstein's horrific crimes. Read them for yourself. It's time to end this cover-up and release the files.
I'm keeping an eye on some breaking news right now. It looks like there's been a social media post from Democrats noting that the Oversight Committee has come across new emails from Jeffrey Epstein's estate. These emails raise some serious questions about Donald Trump and what he knew regarding Epstein's terrible crimes. They even share Epstein's words from 2011 where he mentioned Trump spending hours at his house with a victim of sex trafficking. That's some intense stuff, especially since these emails just got made public today by the House Oversight Committee. It adds more layers to the already complicated friendship between Trump and Epstein, along with concerns about what Trump may have known during Epstein's long-gunning efforts to exploit underage girls. On a different note, Congress just put its foot down on Trump's latest attempt to grab power, and he's definitely not handling it well.
This is some file footage of the late Jeffrey Epstein, and I did want to share some more information on this breaking news. Jeffrey Epstein writing in a 2011 email that President Trump had, quote, spent hours at Epstein's house with a victim of sex trafficking, and said in a separate message years later that President Trump knew about the girls, in quotation marks. That's according to communications released today.
He's always denied knowing anything about Epstein's alleged crimes and claims he cut ties with him quite some time ago. The Associated Press had some posts regarding these new emails, stating Trump's messages are part of a massive batch of 23,000 documents released by Epstein's estate to the Oversight Committee.
Now, the emails made public by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee add to the questions about President Trump's friendship with Epstein and about any knowledge that he may have had in what prosecutors call a years-long effort by Epstein to exploit underage girls. President Trump has consistently denied any knowledge of Epstein's alleged crimes and has said he ended their relationship years ago.
This whole situation brings back a storyline that's shadowed Trump's presidency, especially last summer when the FBI and the Justice Department said they wouldn't be putting out any more documents. Oh, and let me tell you about a recent congressional vote that blocked Trump from trying to impose a nationwide voter ID mandate just by using an executive order. Yes, that's right. Trump was actually looking to skip over Congress and just declare new voting rules on his own before the midterm elections in 2026. That's quite the power move.
To stop illegal aliens and others who are unpermitted persons from voting in our sacred American elections. That cheating is rampant in our elections. It's rampant. It's very simple. All voters must show voter ID.
When lawmakers turned him down, Trump took to Truth Social and completely lost it. He started posting in all caps, attacking members of his own party, claiming that everyone who opposed him was basically helping Democrats cheat in elections. It's honestly hard to believe he said that out loud. What really makes this all the more unbelievable is how Trump has been fixated on changing election rules for months. He's particularly worried about the 2026 midterms, knowing his party could lose control of the House or the Senate. He's been tossing around ideas like postponing elections and changing voting eligibility. His big plan was to push for stricter voter ID laws.
All voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote. And no more crooked mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. None. And this should be an easy one. And by the way, it's polling at 89%, including Democrats, 89%.
Framing it as a move for election integrity, while secretly hoping any losses in November could be blamed on fraud. It's a classic move from his playbook. But Congress just put their foot down. In an unexpected twist, both Republicans and Democrats agreed on something which is practically a modern miracle. They voted to stop Trump from sidestepping them on such a crucial issue as voting rights. Trump is absolutely livid because this situation has gone beyond just voter ID. It's about whether he can act like a king or if Congress still has some power left. And here's the kicker. This vote didn't happen in isolation. Just before this, The Supreme Court told Trump he couldn't make up tariffs on his own.
The House has also voted to overturn President Trump's tariffs on Canada. 6 Republicans sided with nearly all Democrats on this one to approve the move. But even if it clears the Senate, the measure can be vetoed by the president. Speaker Mike Johnson called the vote disappointing and suggested it's pointless,
reminding him that tax decisions rest with Congress as per the Constitution. On top of that, the Senate pushed forward a bipartisan measure to rein in Trump's military powers after he launched a raid in Venezuela without Congress's approval. Now, he's feeling the heat from all directions. And let me tell you, he's not taking it well at all. His Truth Social feed looks like a frantic rant, as if someone snatched his phone and he managed to wrestle it back just to type in all caps. He's calling people in Congress traitors, accusing Democrats of wanting to cheat, and even hinting at issuing an executive order anyway, daring anyone to stop him. It's complete chaos.
Right for the House to be intervening in the middle of that at this really important time. So I'm disappointed in the vote, but the president has veto power, and there's not a 2/3 majority in both chambers to override the veto, so it's not going to change the policy in the end anyway. But I think this is a fruitless exercise and a pointless one, and I'm disappointed in it.
What's really alarming is that he might actually go through with it. For the past year, he's been acting like he can simply announce policies on social media and expect them to become law. He tried to cap credit card interest rates with a post, launch trade wars with a tweet, and now he seems to think he can rewrite voting rules the same way. So, let's see where this all goes in this video. Let's dive into what went down with the recent vote and why Congress decided it was time to stand up to Trump. I mean, this isn't just about one vote or a single temper tantrum. This is about Trump continually trying to grasp powers he doesn't even have according to the Constitution. It's kind of wild watching to see if Congress or the courts will actually put a stop to him. So far, the response has been all over the place. Maybe yes, maybe no. It really depends on the moment. And that's where it gets tricky. Every time Trump gets a no, he just finds another way to go about it. We've seen him do it with tariffs and military actions, pushing and prodding until he either gets what he wants or until everyone just gets so worn out from the fight that they let it slide. If he manages to change voting rules right before crucial elections, it crosses the line from a political disagreement into a serious constitutional crisis. So on February 13th, things took a crazy turn. Trump went on Truth Social to announce his plans to issue an executive order mandating nationwide voter ID requirements before the midterm elections in 2026. He even let slip that the actual legislation to put this in place was likely to get stuck in Congress. It's honestly hard to believe he said that out loud. Basically, he admitted that Congress wasn't going to back his voter ID law, so he was just planning to do it himself anyway. Then he launched into this rant about how Democrats just won't support voter ID or citizenship requirements, claiming that the reason behind it was simple. They want to cheat in elections. But let's get real for a second. Voter ID laws are complicated. They can make it much tougher for certain groups to vote, like students, the elderly, and low-income people who don't have easy access to places like DMVs or government offices. So, it's not as straightforward as he makes it sound. This whole situation is just beginning to unfold, and it's shaping up to be a whole lot messier than it looks at first glance. It's quite the situation we've got here. Trump has made a habit of framing everything as cheating, and you can see why it really revs up his supporters and gives him an out if things go south for him. But recently, things took a turn when Congress didn't just overlook him, but actually voted to block his moves. And get this, it wasn't just a narrow win for the Democrats. Both Republicans and Democrats came together and said, no way, you can't just change the election rules all on your own. That kind of bipartisan agreement is a rare sight these days, which makes it all the more significant. So, what finally prompted Congress to step up? Timing played a big role in this. The vote came right on the heels of Trump trying to work around Congress and getting shut down. Just days earlier, the Senate moved forward with a bipartisan war powers resolution after Trump conducted a military raid in Venezuela without getting the green light from Congress. Senator Jack Reed called out the need for Congress to reclaim its constitutional authority, essentially saying Trump's actions were a major constitutional misstep. And it wasn't just that. The Supreme Court also sided against Trump regarding his tariff powers. He had been attempting to impose what he dubbed reciprocal tariffs because he was unhappy with how other countries were handling trade. The court, however, made it clear that tariffs count as taxes and only Congress has the power to impose those as laid out in the Constitution. The ruling was 6-3, with even some of Trump's own appointees voting against him. It was aptly put by a commentator describing it as Trump reaching the limit of his authority, which is just another way of saying he got told to sit down. With everything happening, the raid in Venezuela, the overreach on tariffs, and Trump casually announcing policies on social media as if he was making laws from his phone, Congress realized they had to act or risk becoming completely irrelevant. Trump has been treating Congress as if it were just a suggestion, trying to cap credit card interest rates with a social media post, and changing trade policies with a tweet. Now he wants to rewrite voting rules in the same manner. Finally, Congress decided it was time to say enough is enough. But here's the kicker. Trump didn't even seem to care. His reaction to being blocked didn't show much concern at all. Instead of cooperating with Congress like a typical president, he took to Truth Social to vent his frustrations, calling anyone who voted against him a traitor and claiming Democrats are out to steal elections. But he didn't stop at just complaining. He hinted at issuing an executive order anyway. Now, that leads to an interesting point. Can he really do that? Can Trump just sign an executive order to enforce nationwide voter ID laws? The short and sweet answer is no. The longer answer is probably no, too. But I have no doubt he'll give it a shot, creating quite the stir. Here's the deal. Elections in the United States are managed by individual states, not the federal government. The Constitution actually gives states the authority to decide when, where, and how elections happen. Sure, Congress has some say in regulating federal elections, but the president can't just waltz in and change voting laws unilaterally. Executive orders can't override state election laws or set new voting requirements. But that doesn't seem to bother him. Throughout his second term, he's been all about governing via executive order. His approach seems to be sign it, let someone sue, battle it out in court, and hope that by the time it gets sorted, he'll have already achieved what he wanted. We've seen this tactic with tariffs, immigration, and trade policies. He just goes for it and dares anyone to stop him. Sometimes it works since the legal system can be slow, and by the time a court makes a decision, the damage might be done. So what would happen if Trump did go ahead and issue this voter ID executive order? Well, states would sue right away. Civil rights groups would jump in, and it would end up in federal court, likely getting blocked by a judge in just a few days. After that, it would be caught up in appeals for months. Meanwhile, we'd head into the 2026 midterms with pure chaos over who gets to vote and what the rules even are. Honestly, that could be his goal. Even if he loses in court, he gets to spend the whole election season claiming the system is rigged and that Democrats are cheating, suggesting that his potential loss could be pinned on their refusal to let him adjust the elections. His supporters eat this narrative up. Right now, Trump's entire political persona revolves around the idea that everyone is against him, the game's rigged, and he's the only one standing up for them. Every time Congress or the courts put up a roadblock, it only strengthens that story. So even in defeat, he keeps pushing his message. So here's the deal. Trump tends to play the victim card, which revs up his supporters, right? But this time, things feel a bit different. It's not just about his ego or his brand. We're talking fundamental democracy here. The rules for voting decide who gets to take part in elections. And if Trump manages to change those rules just before a midterm when his party might be on shaky ground, that's more than bending norms. That's manipulating the election. What's really telling is that Congress is finally starting to push back. Even some Republicans are stepping up and saying no, which shows just how worried they are about this whole situation. Trump, as you can imagine, has responded by slamming those Republicans. He's calling them rhinos, threatening to run primaries against them, and claiming they're aiding Democrats in cheating. That's going to have some serious implications, especially since we're gearing up for the 2026 midterms. Any Republican who didn't stand by Trump on this will likely face a challenger backed by him who'll be singing the tune of "I would have let Trump save elections" or something along those lines. Even though Congress has managed to block him this time, Trump is ready to make sure those who oppose him pay a political price. That's definitely concerning. The message he's sending is crystal clear. If you don't back me, your career is in jeopardy. And as more Republicans face primaries for standing up to him, fewer will be willing to do it next time when he inevitably tries something like this again. And he will, Congress might not have enough votes to stand against him. Let's break it down because there's a lot going on, and it all connects. First off, Trump is attempting to rewrite election rules ahead of the 2026 midterms using only his executive power. Congress just voted to block him, which is pretty significant. It's one of the first times in his second term that they've actually said no to something of this magnitude. We're talking about critical issues like voting rights and who gets to participate in democracy. Trump wanted to just announce new rules on social media and have them take effect. No debates, no legislation, no input from Congress or the states. Simply, I said so, so it's law. But Congress looked at that and said absolutely not. This all ties back into a larger pattern of Trump trying to run things like he's a king instead of a president. It's pretty wild what's going on with Trump lately. While there's all this drama around the ID fight, he's facing setbacks from the Supreme Court on tariffs and from the Senate regarding war powers. In just about 2 weeks, he's been told by various branches of government that he can't just act on a whim. He can't create new taxes, initiate military actions without approval, or change voting laws all by himself. Every time he's shut down, instead of collaborating with Congress or finding a middle ground, his response has been to hit back even harder and hint that he might just ignore them anyway. It's almost comical how at one point he thought he could cap credit card interest rates by simply posting about it on Truth Social, genuinely believing that would make it a reality. He seems to think that if he makes an announcement and people cheer, then boom, it's law. But that's not how any of this works. There are limits to executive orders. He can't just whip up new rules or override Congress like that. His reaction to being blocked says a lot about how he views power. Instead of seeking compromise after the vote didn't go his way, he took to Truth Social to rant in all caps about how anyone who opposed him is a traitor and the Democrats are cheating. Now, he's even threatening members of his own party and insinuating he might run someone against them in the primaries, fueling his supporters to see Congress as the enemy. Here's the kicker. This tactic might just work for him, as his whole political strategy relies on loyalty tests. If you stand with him, you're safe. If not, he'll aim to take you down. So now all the Republicans who oppose the voter ID move are going to be challenged by primary candidates running on "I would have supported Trump." Even though Congress showed some backbone this time, Trump isn't letting them off easy. The lesson is loud and clear for the GOP. Steer clear of crossing him, or you might find yourself out of a job. This whole scuffle is really about the upcoming midterms in 2026, and you can feel his panic. He knows his party risks losing the House or the Senate come November. If that happens, forget about any agenda for a second term. No more easy executive orders, no judicial appointments, and no passing whatever laws he wants. So he's scrambling to solidify his power now with tighter voter ID laws and other suppression tactics. You know, Trump is really on a mission to make voting tougher for those who aren't on his side. He's been saying it's all about election integrity. But let's be honest, it's just about holding on to his power. CNN pointed out that he's been fixated on the upcoming midterms for months, even tossing around ideas about delaying them or changing the rules. This whole voter ID thing was meant to fit into that plan, make it harder to vote, claim any Democratic victories are fraudulent, and then set the stage for 2028 by saying the game is rigged. But now, Congress stepped in and totally disrupted that scheme. Trump is seriously angry because he has to face a fair election now. So what's next? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump still tries to push out an executive order. He's already dropped hints about it, and we all know he has this vibe of doing whatever he wants and daring anyone to stop him. So we can expect that executive order in the coming weeks along with immediate lawsuits from states and civil rights organizations. That whole situation is likely to end up in federal court where it will probably get blocked. Meanwhile, we're in for months of confusion over voting rules right before the midterms. And that confusion swings in Trump's favor. Even if he faces defeat in court, he gets to spend the entire campaign season shouting about how the system is rigged. Democrats are cheating and courts are biased. His base eats that up. It gets them fired up and gives him an excuse if Republicans stumble in the elections. So whether he wins or loses legally, there's always something in it for him. But here's the silver lining. I'm feeling hopeful because Congress actually pushed back this time. For once, Republicans and Democrats came together to say no to Trump on an issue that really counts. Sure, Trump will probably retaliate and some of those Republicans might end up losing their positions. but they stood their ground anyway. They saw Trump trying to rewrite the rules of the game and said, "This is going too far. We can't allow this." That's significant because anytime someone stands up to Trump's power grab, it sets an important precedent. It shows that checks and balances are still alive and that the Constitution still has meaning. Not everyone is ready to just lie down and let him do as he pleases. The more times this happens, the harder it gets for Trump to claim he has unchecked authority. Now, don't get me wrong. This battle is definitely not over. Trump will keep pushing, and who knows, Congress might buckle under the pressure next time. It looks like we're on the brink of a constitutional crisis as we approach the midterm elections. This recent vote really feels like a definitive moment, a clear line drawn in the sand. Now, we're about to see if that line holds firm or if Trump just bulldozes right through it. It's interesting to wonder if Congress is finally standing up for themselves or if this is just a temporary show of strength that will crumble the next time Trump has one of his meltdowns. I'd love to hear what you think, so feel free to share your thoughts in the comments.